This just in, all writing is writing.
So step right up and enjoy the latest from Tautologies with Andrew.
Hey, I'm a rhetorician. What else would you expect?
Well, I've learned not to expect much.
Right, so you can never be disappointed.
Oh no, I'd say I'm almost constantly disappointed, bud.
Well, okay, that makes two of us, and one of the things that disappoints me the most is the way that we draw artificial walls around different kinds of writing, almost as if they were fundamentally different things. Like, you have to be taught separately how to write resumes and research papers and sonnets and novels, like they were different, almost as different as baking, rock climbing, and motorcycle maintenance. And then take a look at education. You have persuasive writing classes and creative writing classes, and then you have professional writing and technical writing and research writing classes. Walk down the aisle at a bookstore or library and you'll see memoirs separated from mystery, separated from self-help. Sign up for a Master of Fine Arts program and they'll likely force you to commit to poetry or nonfiction or fiction before you even show up. Now, before you go to the comments and make yourself look silly by retching up a retort to the argument you think I'm making instead of the argument I am making, I understand why we make those distinctions, and I'm not saying it's wrong to do so. It makes commercial sense to categorize books as a way to set consumer expectations. There are very good reasons to teach specialized writing techniques in different classes. If you're going to practice law, you'd better have a deeply internalized knowledge of how legal writing works, for example. But persuasive writing and technical writing and creative writing and legal writing and business writing all end in writing. So I'll say it again. All writing is writing, and I don't just mean to point out the obvious point that they all involve putting alphabetical text on physical or digital pages. I mean that getting better at any one kind of writing will make you better at all other kinds of writing too. Let me explain. Let's assume, dear reader, that you are a human person. Out there in the cosmos somewhere is a reader who is also presumably a human person. Because you are human people, it's not possible to just bump foreheads and transfer knowledge, thoughts, or feelings from your brain to your readers, so we've invented writing to do that job. Whenever you sit down to write, and I don't care what it is, your basic task is the same. Create a text that recreates for the reader the kind of human experience that you want to communicate. Whether it's a college application essay or an email to a client explaining why you can't work for free, or a short story about a unicorn that gets mistakenly trapped at a petting zoo, you need to solve the problem of using written language to do a particular job. What that job is, of course, depends on the situation you're in, but the fundamental task is the same for all writing. Create a text that recreates in a reader's head what you have in yours. And sure, sometimes those different situations call for different strategies. You're recreating something different in a reader's head when you write an email asking your boss for a raise from what you're recreating when you write a haiku about the sunflower in the highway median you saw yesterday. But even then, these disparate tasks cluster around similarities in the situation. As the scholar Carolyn Miller put it, genres, or kinds of texts, represent typified rhetorical action. You don't need to create a request for a raise from scratch every time you write one. If you've ever written an email asking for anything, you've gotten practice with the typified rhetorical action of making a request. And check this out. Practicing asking for things in emails may not feel like training in creative genres, but your characters are going to have more convincing interactions on the page when you use your understanding of making uncomfortable requests under social tension. And your haiku is going to be more meaningful when you transfer your skills of anticipating how your boss is going to react to your request for more money and modulating your text to communicate the right message and maintain the right emotional state in your reader. Different readers, different emotions, but the same typified rhetorical action of managing your reader's emotional state with your writing. So in that sense, writing work emails and writing short stories are not different in the way that rock climbing and knitting are different. Maybe they're different in the way that baking a loaf of sourdough and a loaf of brioche are different. Yes, there are specific techniques that go into sourdough that don't go into brioche and vice versa, but anytime you're developing your intuitions for dough structure, proofing stages, and baking times, you're getting better at baking bread in general, regardless of whatever kind of bread you're actually baking.
I'm sorry, you were talking a whole lot and I tuned out. Well, I'm always tuned out. But what did you say? Something about bread? I'm not hungry. Actually, I haven't been hungry for thousands of years.
No, there's no bread, bud, but here's the simple version. On the surface, writing a novel may seem like a radically different task from putting together a resume. But beneath that surface, the two are composed of really similar rhetorical actions. Even deeper, at their fundamental essence, writing a novel and writing a resume are both exercises in creating a text that recreates your intended effect in the mind of a reader. The basic job is exactly the same, even if there are some differences in technique along the way. And of course, specialization is a thing. Somebody who has given their life to making brioche is going to make better brioche than someone who has given their life to making sourdough. But someone who has given their life to making sourdough will probably make better brioche than someone who has given their life to fixing water heaters and has no experience with bread of any kind. So when I say that all writing is writing, I mean that allowing for differences in how they're applied from one genre to another, the principles of good writing are applicable to all kinds of writing. How you structure a poem might not be exactly the same as how you structure a PhD dissertation, but they both need structure, and your readers are going to have an easier time understanding them if you make that structure apparent. Whether you're writing a letter to your elected representative or a short story, writing needs an exigence, a reason to exist, a problem to solve. Getting good at identifying, creating, and responding to meaningful exigences will make all your writing better, no matter what it is. Sometimes people like to scoff at show don't tell as some kind of teachery folklore, but there's good theory behind it, and concrete, specific detail will always make your writing more engaging and convincing, whether you're writing a rhetorical analysis essay or a chapter of your memoir. Understanding the elements that go into shaping people's motivations won't just help you to persuade your boss to give you a raise, it will also help you to craft characters that are more fully realized and actually have a meaningful role to play in your stories. And learning about something as apparently specialized as poetic meter may seem like a non-transferable skill, but you don't have to be writing metrical verse to find value in it. Write a few lines of iambic pentameter and you'll be training your ear to pay closer attention to the rhythms of language. The dialogue in your novel or the literature review in your research paper may not be metrical, but sharpening your sense of rhythm could help you to write dialogue that sounds more authentically human or enable you to integrate citations into your own sentences more harmoniously. And I could keep going, but I won't.
Oh, thank goodness.
Okay, chill. I won't keep going because I think you get the idea. All writing is writing, and getting better at any writing will make you better at all writing. Obviously, that doesn't mean that spending all your time learning the craft of fiction will make you as good of a poet as you are a novelist, but it will probably make you a better poet than if you never practiced any kind of writing at all. When I was trying to decide a little over 6 years ago what to call this show, my first impulse was to try to narrow it down to a specific kind of writing or a specific aspect of writing, because everyone tells you need to have a niche online. But the more I thought about it, the more I kept coming back to my own experience with writing and the growing realization that all writing is just writing. At the time, I was trudging through a PhD in rhetoric after finishing an MFA in poetry, and I was seeing how much of what I had learned about writing poetry was helping me to write scholarly papers. And I was also reflecting on how much the things I had learned about rhetorical theory had helped me with my poetry. They couldn't have looked more different on the surface, but there was so much they had in common, and I found my learning in each to be mutually reinforcing. So I landed on the capacious title Writing with Andrew, because all writing is writing, and niching down, as they say, seemed inauthentic to what I felt like I had to say about writing, but also to my experience as a writer. All writing is writing, which is why, even though they were not that common, one of the more disappointing responses to a recent video about creative nonfiction was from the people who took the time to comment that they were going to refuse to write nonfiction because they thought fiction was superior. Like, talk about missing the point. I wasn't asking people to write nonfiction to the exclusion of everything else, and I wasn't saying it was better or worse than anything, just another way to enrich your writing practice and the world of reading. It's puzzling to me, given my experience, why someone would refuse to try a different kind of writing or think that an invitation to try something new is somehow also an injunction to abandon everything else. All writing is writing, and even if you're a committed fiction writer, nonfiction will give you practice with things in different ways than fiction will, and you'll come out a better writer for it. I even said as much in the video. My experience taking nonfiction workshops didn't replace my focus on poetry or rhetorical scholarship, but it did enrich and improve my work in the things I did choose to specialize in. So really, I guess I wanted to take the time to say explicitly what the show's unspoken philosophy has been from the beginning. All writing is writing, and while there are reasons to divide up different kinds of writing, the basic skills that will make you a better writer are relevant no matter what you're working on. Let's say, for example, that you don't get enough time to do the writing you want to do because you always have to do other kinds of writing. Well, don't look at the correspondence or reports as obstacles, but as opportunities to practice. Emails aren't dialogue, but they're not dialogue, so practice communicating in authentic and human ways. Unless there's a specific rule that memos and reports can't have cumulative sentences, use that corporate boilerplate as a chance to practice syntactic tools that could make your passion project even more vibrant. Of course, still be authentic and professional, but maybe your next email thread with an external vendor can be a chance to try on a different persona, flexing those muscles that will do heavy lifting when you write your personal essays. Or maybe you've gotten stuck in a rut in that creative work. Your nonfiction is too cerebral and detached. Well, great. Take a few days off and write some short stories. Fiction will force you into scene writing, and that practice can help you to add some more immersive experiences to your essays. Or maybe your fiction feels displaced and impressionistic in a kind of alienating way. So practicing the deliberate creation of evocative imagery that poetry demands can help you to craft fiction with more expressive but still concise detail work. And is your academic writing dry, confusing, and borderline incoherent? Well, actually, you're probably fine. That seems to be what they want these days. But no, really, loosen up with some creative writing and learn or relearn how to sound like a human being first. Academic writing often sounds inhuman, but that's not a requirement. So training your muscles with literary writing will pay off even in your scholarly work. And once again, I could keep going. Because all writing is writing, you don't need to feel like you're stuck doing writing you don't want to do, while the writing you do want to do is languishing in the dark. All writing is writing, so reframe the writing you have to do as practice for the writing you want to do. Or take a break from the writing that's hard and practice with something that will get you thinking in new and useful ways. Because all writing is writing, any writing that you do can be valuable practice. And of course, while it's necessary sometimes to label videos with specific kinds of writing because search terms and algorithms and other things are the way they are, in my very biased and conflicted interest opinion, I'd hope that you'd watch videos from this show even if they don't seem to directly focus on the kind of writing you most want to do. Sure, maybe you're not an aspiring poet, but what can poetry, which is writing, teach you about fiction, which is still writing? Or how can some rhetorical theory give you a new perspective that, even though it isn't scholarship on poetry, could still help you to write better poems?
Oh, I see what this is. You're just trying to get more people to watch the show.
Yeah, obviously, because it's good for the show when people watch it, and because I think it's genuinely useful and valuable stuff. So why wouldn't I try to share it broadly?
Yeah, okay. Because if it was really valuable, you probably wouldn't have to promote it so hard.
Well, that's probably not how the world actually works, which, come to think of it, how is Kaputko these days?
I don't see how that's relevant, but it continues to be the leader in interdimensional industry. Profits are up, lawsuits are down, and government regulators are backing off. Thanks for asking.
Anytime. But yes, there is more than one rhetorical purpose at work here. Primarily, I want to show you that the divisions we make between various kinds of writing are only so deep, and that you can improve your skills no matter what you're writing, so long as you're deliberate and thoughtful about developing your technique. Yes, writing memoirs is probably your most direct route to writing good memoirs, but even writing a note to your kid's teacher can still be good writing practice that serves your memoir in the end. And let it be no surprise to any of us, secondarily, I do want to encourage you to spend some time with the Writing with Andrew back catalog. I'm really delighted and grateful for all the new viewers and subscribers who have come in even in the last month or so. And if you saw something recently that caught your attention, I'm confident you'll find more to help you in your writing journey in the videos I've already made. I mean, between you and me, one of the absolute best ways to support a channel you like is to watch more than one video on that channel. Of course, it's not just old stuff either. There's plenty more good writing content on the way for writers of all genres. So thank you so very much for being here and for watching until the end, and we'll see you again soon for more writing goodness.